happen with that?
Well, let me. You know what? I'm just gonna pull up the tweet from Cuban. I got it right here. Pull up.
Cubes.
I'm like Jamie from Joe Rogan. Um, For those wondering about the play with a minute 54 to go in the third, let me explain what happened. The ref called Mavs ball, the announcer announced it, then there was a timeout. During the timeout, the official changed the call and never told us. Then, when they saw us line up as if it were our ball, he just gave the ball to the Warriors. Never said a word to us. They got an easy basket. Crazy that it would matter in a 2 point game. Worst officiating non call mistake possibly in the history of the NBA. All they had to do was tell us, and they did it.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah, there's a lot. There's a lot there. But that play acted as kind of like a microcosm for that game because it was not pretty. Like towards the end, Luca was just putting up any shot that he could possibly get and trying to get a foul. And I'm normally a Luca like apologist. Anytime someone calls him out for him crying to the refs, I'm like, well, if I was that talented, I'd be doing that too. All that sort of stuff. But today
Well,
was
you
just
try to look
frustrating.
like him as much as possible.
Apparently, according to Guru, I look like Maxi Kleba. It's weird. I don't know if I agree with that one. But I'm just like, what? I got the classic white guy comb over and the beard. Is that what I look like, Maxi Kleber? Whatever.
Basically, that's what
Yeah.
Guru's saying.
Yep. Do you want to see the play in question because this is the
Sure,
one that
because this is
everyone's
all
talking
new to
about?
me. I apologize. I try to catch up as much as possible with the game. I saw that Jonathan Kuminga was the highest scorer of the night, and looks like Steph Curry didn't have the best game, but in the end they won. I thought Draymond Green played great down the stretch and scored a season high 17 points for old
Mm,
Draymond, 14 points.
yeah, yeah. Had a huge and one at the end of the game too.
Yeah,
Um, but this was the
good
play.
rebounds.
So yes, and a huge block.
Yep.
But this was the play. Dallas are on the other end thinking it's their ball, but really it's the Warriors' ball after the timeout, and this is what happened.
This is the Warriors' basket in the second half. There's no Maverick defenders. Looney's like, hey, look at this.
That's
Wait,
it.
what in the fuck?
Yeah, that's it. The Mavs were lined up on the other side of the court as if they were going to get the ball. It did not even
And
notice
then
that
just
the
Looney
ref.
just scored, and then it was what quarter
Then
was
it,
this in?
then it counted right at the end of the third.
Jesus Christ.
It's just an ugly game all around, man. But
That's egregious.
yeah, yeah, and I can understand why the Mavs are frustrated. It's really funny because as Warriors fans do on social media, the popular social media people, their whole thing is cry, right? Cry more, cry more. Well, if this happened to them, it'd be nonstop.
Oh
It'd
yeah,
be
because
nonstop.
The Warriors won by 2, and I'm sure Dallas radio tomorrow will go with this. If like, well, I never know what takes precedent with Dallas radio, if it's Cowboys or Mavericks this time of year, but regardless.
It has to be this time of the year. But with that being said, there is something beautiful about the rarefied air that the Warriors are in, where they're fighting for a postseason spot with this many games remaining, with less than 10 games to go in the season. They now have 8 after tonight.
Mm-hmm.
Like when Steve Kerr said earlier in practice, he said in his career, he can't remember a Western Conference that was cluttered like this before. And the fact that it's kind of fun with every game coming down to the wire and every game really mattering. And, whether it plays an advantage into the postseason because you're treating every game like a playoff game, whatever, don't know if that's going to play a factor. It could. But what it does is it creates a lot of enjoyment for the fans because that game, it did feel like they were playing for everything on the line. You can tell, too, both teams were tired toward the end.
I was drinking my water.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that things will get very interesting with the Western Conference. I don't think anyone's catching the Nuggets at this point. It's kind of
Mm,
interesting now with the Mavericks, or no, not the Mavericks, sorry, the Grizzlies getting back John Morant,
yeah.
and now they're trying to pull away from the Sacramento Kings. Kings, they've been playing well, but I still got to see it in the regular season, or actually, I should say in the playoffs. They're a fun team to watch, but I want to see how they play with the big boys in the Western Conference. Suns and Lakers going on right now, and I think that George Sedano gave an update on Kevin Durant. I think he's going to be reevaluated in 8 days, where LeBron James will be really reevaluated tomorrow. And then last night we saw Paul George. He's going to be out for 3 weeks with that nasty fall that happened last night. So things could change with 8 games remaining, Steven?
Yeah, 8 games.
So basically, it sounds like Kevin Durant's going to come back for the playoffs, and that's going to be it for the Suns.
Yeah.
And like I said before, like that's a huge addition, but at the same time, do you really want him gelling in the playoffs with them? Like they could be totally off. So
Yep.
anything, like my man from Princeton and KG says, anything is possible. So we'll see what happens in the Western Conference. But solid win tonight for the Warriors, much needed. They've been abysmal on the road, and this kind of takes the monkey off their back. Yeah, I mean, it looked like an ugly game, and I checking the box score probably wasn't the best night stat wise for Steph Curry and Klay Thompson, everybody, but they got the job done, and that's all that was needed. Kuminga with a huge game, so we'll see how it goes. They come back home against the 76ers on Friday, and things seem to be going in the right direction, but I don't want to give in too much yet. I know it was a huge win on the road, but at the same time, I want to see it more. It was good to end the road trip like this on a high note, but let's see if they can avoid the play-in tournament. Let's see.
No, there's ways you could talk yourself into the Warriors though, going towards the end of this postseason. Because something else, I don't think you mentioned this, but Paul George out for the Clippers, reevaluated
I
in
did
2 to
say
3
that.
weeks. You did say that. Okay, sorry, I got a lot going on. My bad, Dartmouth Derek.
It's all right.
But with the way that the Warriors, at least Jonathan Kuminga, the way that he's playing, if they somehow manage to get GP2 and Andrew Wiggins back, like I don't know what they're going to look like on the offensive end, but I do know that they're going to be solid defensively. Like I really think that. So somehow you could talk yourself into, well, if they're in the top 6, and let's just say they end up at 6, right? And let's just say the standings pan out the way they are right now. Kings in 3rd, Grizzlies 2nd, and Nuggets 1st.
I
Like
kind
if
of
it's
like
the
that.
Warriors and if it's the Warriors and the Kings in a first round matchup, I mean the Kings have been a lot of fun to watch this season, but
Mike Brown,
boy, Mike Brown, like that would, I think that's the
Dante
series.
DiVincenzo.
Revenge game, revenge series.
Yeah,
Whew.
I would want that to stay there because I want the Warriors to avoid the Suns as much as possible until the Western Conference Finals if they're so lucky to get there.